So this was to be the Paris-Dakar at its purest. Departure point, the City of Lights. Destination, Dakar in Senegal. The 1993 edition of the rally saw only 4 of the regular Africa countries visited, entering through Morocco, spending the majority of the time in the Algerian desert before 3 stages in Mauritania, and the final dash to Dakar in Senegal, a shortened 16-day rally covering fewer than 9,000 kilometres. Stage 1 proper, from Fez to Beni Ounif, a special of 295 kilometres, 761 in total. Yes, for the first time in the Dakar history, the rally attacked the winter snow-covered wastes of the Atlas Mountains. Snow? Yeah, you're right. Well, racing in anger, but with a steep, sinuous accent, it was Peder Hansel who assumed his role as favourite in the bike class with an assured start to his title defence, finishing 3 minutes and 43 ahead of Jordi Arcarons. By now, fully up to speed as we were, with helicopters, helicams, medical backup, it made the route all the more dramatic for those watching at home. It was a disaster for Danny Laporte, though, as he fell early on in the stage and lost over 33 minutes to Peder Hansel, yet still placed in 4th. Tremendous speeds on the flatter sections. They had to be so careful when it got twisty. As Laporte found out, well, on 4 wheels, first blood went to Mitsubishi of Owen Webber, who used his rally experience to the full on the tight technical course, coming in 1 minute 23 ahead of the other Pajero of Bruno Sabi. An unfortunate puncture for Vatnan in his Citroën ZX cost the Finn time, but he was still fast enough to come in 3rd, only 3 minutes and 37 down despite his troubles. He was shadowed by the sister car of Oriol, 7 minutes 45 of the pace, just ahead of Shinazuka in the 3rd Mitsubishi. On the rough terrain, the Pajero won praise from both its improved suspension and its resistance to punctures that beset others. At the first bivouac near Beni Ounif, as it was time to assess the casualties on the first day. Small roll at the beginning, he says, of the special. And we did the rest okay. So on to stage 2, 741 special. It was a huge, huge effort out there. It was a menace. Look what was waiting for them. Miles and miles of it. Yes, after only a few kilometres off the stage, the sixth sense of Peder Hansel, well, it kicked in and he realised that somehow he'd missed an earlier checkpoint. Checking the route with his friend Carbonnier before heading back. Got registered properly, thank goodness. Well, ahead of that, Jordi Arcarons was striding ahead into the dunes, but apparently had no idea of the mistake made by Peder Hansel. Well, the sound of the dunes got softer and softer, causing problems for the privateers and the works riders alike. After recovering from his early mistake, Peder Hansel proved his form and set off after the leaders, passing Owen Webber, doing a good job of it as well. Well, the sister car of Bruno Sabi pulled off an outstanding day's driving with an uncanny sense of the harder ground and was able to find it, it seems, where others were missing it, also having none of the bad luck with punctures that plagued the other drivers. Well, that meant that the day's stage went to the Frenchman by some 14 minutes. Bruno Sabi looking so good. Well, in the dunes, it wasn't going well for the bikes, and all the drivers had to follow a snake-like track as well, around the stranded bikers. The big story was the amount of punctures. Citroën total a massive 19, slightly better for Mitsubishi. 4 cars, they still got 11 though. Well, here Webber was asking for a spare tyre from Shinazuka, but the Japanese driver had already run out of his own and couldn't help. So they were forced to repair the tyre they had. It was the best they could do. The Morrow brothers were back in a buggy, and despite only having a two-wheel drive car, they managed to get through the dunes relatively unscathed. Well, the trucks were struggling, even if they had 4- or even 6-wheel drive. For the others, the struggle was even worse. When they did reach the bivouac, it was a huge relief after a long day. Well, I've been stressed all day long, says Sabi, because there are no spare tyres, the GPS wasn't working properly. We had to do all the navigation by the map, we had to cross some very large dunes, and we just didn't know how we were going to get out of them. No visible tracks, it was a nightmare. Well, despite the problems, Sari still managed to pull ahead of Latif by 1 hour and 15 minutes. He fared better than most out there. Peder Hansel and Akerons coming in very late, well after dark. I'm thankful that they didn't have to fix their own bikes like some of the privateers out there. What time is it, says Vadnan? Just before midnight. All because of punctures, he says. Otherwise, perfect. We'll have more for you after this break. Well, as dawn broke for stage 3, hopes were high amongst those who had made it out of the dunes. There was still some stuck back out there. This was to be a flat, open route. A simple liaison day for those who'd, well, got clear of the soft stuff. And so to stage 4, 550 kilometres of special to be dealt with on this day, 735 in total. The leaders might have been ready to start destination Tamanrasset, but as they left, some drivers and riders were only just coming in from the previous day's stages. Remarkable. Problems on the previous stages. Arrivée and his co-driver have got plenty, or got pretty fast at changing tyres, I should say. It really worked out well for them, and indeed he won the stage.
Ok, à Dakar.
Shinazuka is the first of the Mitsubishis home on stage 6, just over a minute behind Vatland and 3 minutes ahead of the still leading sister car of Bruno Sabi, the third Mitsubishi of Weber, in fourth, 4 minutes and 25 off the fastest Citroen's pace. It was quick out there. Jean-Louis Schlesser wasn't handicapped at all by his two-wheel drive buggy, ran a solid 11th fastest on that long stage. A bit further back, Atar. Well, he suffered some pretty serious problems with his gearbox. He had to stop, lengthy repairs it was. Eventually, he sent his navigator on the back of a spectator's bike to repair at a nearby village garage. It sounded like a good idea, off he went. But as he went, over the horizon came the team rescue truck, almost as he turned around. He'd gone. No radio. Couldn't believe it. Oh my goodness. Well, he didn't say exactly that. Panic and despair, though, didn't last that long because, guess what? They didn't have the spare part he needed anyway. What a farce. Top truck was the number 500 Perlini that held an amazing 8th place overall on the rally. Looked pretty flat. Up ahead, mountains awaited. The drama of the Dakar laying itself bare before us. These fabulous pictures. Stage 5, a special of 801. Yep, you heard that absolutely bang on. A huge, huge effort. Thankfully, the bikers only had to do half as much. Yeah, the plan for the 9th of January was the longest stage of the rally, 1,192 kilometres in total, with over 800 of that as special, as you've seen. However, at the request of the FIM, the bikers were only required to do 408 kilometres, which was still a mammoth amount on 2 wheels. Jordi Alcaraz took his second stage victory from Charbonnier by over 9 minutes. Another 2 minutes back was Peder Hansel, but he still controlled the race overall. Hope you're enjoying the groovy 90s early music, by the way. Remembering just how young I was. Well, for the cars, the mammoth stage was not changed and the fight continued between the Japanese and French manufacturers, though Citroën lost one car after
we came into that rough place, maybe a little bit too fast, and his back.
Back trouble, bizarre injury for Fred Gallagher. Badly bruised his spine on a heavy impact and had to withdraw from the rally, as he wasn't the only one being bounced around out there. Fate was playing its hand. The big boys were here. Not quite the prototypes we'd seen before. Things were slowing down just a little bit, thank goodness. Very, very much part of the action, though, and up high in the rankings as well. Well, not often mentioned is the job of the rescue truck, and on such a long stage, it had its work cut out. Aiding the struggling privateers in particular, both bikers and cars were in distress here. The broom wagon get picked up by this and it really can be all over. What are you doing? Are you going home? Well, this means you're out of the race and you'll get home under your own power. It's a shame we failed, he said, but it's not that bad. Maybe next time. There is the broom wagon with the bikes that won't be going any further on the back. Big cab as well for some of the riders. Sometimes it's so busy, they're sitting on the back. Late evening, the lucky but exhausted competitors who finally made it to the relative comfort of the bivouac, they wanted tea. Hot tea, biscuits, cookies, a meal, everything you can eat. Next tent, you've got a fuel pump. And where's the tarmac road, he says.
Le goudron, il est devant toi.
Well, the road's in front of you, covered in dust. Something a bit flat and hard. Just like his backside, I imagine. Well, all through the night, competitors trickled into the bivouac, desperately tired and in need of rest and food.
Bonsoir. Bonjour. If you want to eat, eat and tea and coffee.
Tea.
Coffee.
Tea, okay.
Tea, okay?
Okay.
So please
Do tea.
yeah, you come with me.
Yeah, thank
C'était
you.
dur? It was hard?
What? Pardon?
It was hard? C'était dur?
Yeah, very hard.
Very hard?
Yeah, too long. And same way.
Yeah.
More sleepy. Oh, sleepy. Oh.
Tea. That's what he wanted. The early hours of the morning, race control was to shut down. Question was, everybody in? No, it says there's more bikes out there. One of them broke its engine a while ago. Don't think they're coming. So stage 6, shorter affair, 691 kilometres, 626 though on the special. Staying in Algeria for another day and a further enormous task ahead of them. Peder Hansel, now old hands work quickly in the desert it seems, and he was out there. They're kind of bunching together as well, following each other. And why not? All day on the pegs. How do they do it? In the cars, it was a good day for Citroën as Lartigue maintained the pressure. That was before he suffered a series of punctures. Webber was attacking for a problem with his gearbox, cost him 36 minutes. Oriol came in third as part of the group of leaders alongside second place Sabi. Well, Servia and Puig reclaimed fifth place overall as Shinazuka lost nearly an hour over the day due to fading brakes. No problems for Polini in the trucks though. The big boys were out there and chasing him all down. Still first and second in the trucks, 9th and 11th overall with the big monsters. More in a moment. Stage 9, Chenachen to Bîr Amrâne. Yes, this was an old cavalry fort, would you believe, and was often purloined by the French Foreign Legion. Unbelievable. History all around us then, and an awful lot of dry stuff. The wells coming in more than handy. So 650-kilometre special it was. Some privateer riders worked all night to repair their damaged machines before heading off on the second longest special of the rally at dawn. No sleep and little time to eat. Yes, the life of a privateer really is a tough one. Even tiring for those more competitive spirits who happen to be part of the factory teams. And what a day it turned. It was ideal conditions for the motorbikes. Jordi Acrons set a new Dakar record with 4 stage wins in a row, a feat never before achieved. But overall, he remained in 4th place behind his Yamaha teammates. In the trucks, Polini was unchallenged at the head of the field. So to stage 10, Bîr Amrâne to Atar. Familiar stopping point on the Dakar. 610 kilometers to do on the 13th of January before rejoining the main caravan of the Dakar at Atar. So everyone repaired damage as best they could with what spares they had with them. For the privateers, it was business as usual. For the works riders, well, what on earth was going on, some of them were saying. Not used to it, you see. More dunes beckoned for the day, and once again it was Jordi Acrons who proved the most able, taking his 5th win in a row. Thierry Charbonnier wasn't quite as fast, lost 14 minutes to the Catalan rider. The leader remained comfortable with the overall standings. Peder Hansel moving past the other riders, consolidating his lead by equaling the time of the 2nd place Charbonnier. Reva was 3rd in the standings, but lost time, also to Charbonnier. Well, the Grand Prix of the Sands was being contested between the 3 Pajeros and the 2 ZXs. A challenge for the leader and a proven move by the rest as they stayed in a group all day, leading up to a grand finale. First Weber passed Oriol, and then Oriol passed Weber, Sabi, and then Shinizuka. It was real racing stuff. Japanese cars decided to play the team card and stayed together in the tricky dunes, with Weber and Shinizuka acting as protection and pathfinders for the race leader Sabi. Finally, the Citroens were forced to use the same tactics as the first and then got stuck in the soft sand.
Et la voiture elle avance.
Et tu mets le frein. Allez, on pousse. Allez, l'autre.
Almost injured by a flying sand ramp. Well, after regaining their mobility and recovering their sandboards, things got worse for Oriol. He had an accident with a pickup truck. So it wasn't hard enough for you out there, was it? Well, I met a Peugeot pickup 4x4. It was my fault because it came from the right side and I should have been driving a little bit slower. Well, Barton jumped rather too high for one dune and needed a bit of time at the end to recover. Both he and his co-driver had some serious back pain. Suddenly the question was whether he could actually continue. After what had already happened to Gallagher, the Citroens were really shaking their occupants up. ...124 kilometres of special. On stage 11, the 14th of January, the 7th anniversary of the death of Thierry Sabi. Special stage was that loop through winding and rocky route, stark contrast to the previous few days' challenges. Well, it meant that there was a change in the dominance as the Italian Massimo Miramoli, yes, he used the punch and lightweight of his Golea to good effect despite the small accident that he had. Came home at 19 seconds ahead of the field. Body belly on the Yamaha just behind him. Eric Leblanc made it a famous day for the privateers, filling the third step of the podium, a fitting result on the anniversary of Thierry Sabine's death. The Citroens, well, Oriol, repairing the damage of the day before. His co-driver Picard bounced back to take their first stage win of the year. It came despite the injury to his hand. Mitsubishi, it wasn't a problem for Sabi though. The narrow track meant that he could control the pace of the race comfortably, and complete contrast to the roulette game that was out there in the Mauritanian desert. Shinazuka was looking happy as well. Both the Mitsubishis seemed more at home on the rough tracks. Their superior damping coming to the fore. Schlesser, puncture time for him, all on his own. Barton was struggling with the pain in his back on the bumpy surface, couldn't maintain a strong pace, consequently only managed a comparatively poor 8th place on the stage. And the Tatra of Bustier picked up the pace in the trucks, but was still no match for the two Perlini monsters. Back with more after this.
You're about to be taken on a journey to a world of ancestral beliefs, a land of great mystique, a continent where football is a cult. Africa Cup of Nations, from January 20th, live on Eurosport and Eurosport 2.
8 European nations, Olympic dreaming, and for the winner, the pure delight of a ticket to Beijing. Men's volleyball and the Olympic qualifiers. Tomorrow with Serbia against Finland and Germany against Turkey, live on Eurosport.
And so to stage 12, Atar to Nouakchott, very familiar route to many of you Dakar fans, and after the brief respite of the rocks around Atar, it was back to sand, and more sand. It was still this final hurdle of the last dunes to overcome before the riders and drivers could escape the endless torture of this year's Dakar. But despite tiredness, one more time the riders helped each other through the challenges. This time Peter Hansel helped Akerons. Charbonnier was already there. Great spirit between the riders. Xavier Riba, one man who wouldn't make the podium in Dakar after a crash, left a hole in his radiator. Well, for Sabi and Cerise, in the Pajero there was problems in the shape of a damaged front suspension, but more seriously their GPS broke, so they used a guide in the shape of Stefan Pederhansel to get them to the finish. Oriol it was. 2 out of 2 in the 4-cylinder Citroen ahead of Lartigue. Citroens in the dunes just look terrific at this point. Well, Webber completed the top 3 in his Mitsubishi on the day and remained in a comfortable 4th place overall. Some greenery at long last to break up the sand and rock. Just an oasis though, fooling nobody. Well, it was their speed and reliability over the dunes that got Bruno Sabi and Doric Series in a position to take their first Dakar win out there. Following well behind was Shinazuka. He's very experienced in the dunes, but even he can get caught out from time to time. That's what you get for waving at the helicopter. It was all over for the top 3 in the bikes. They finished as one at the end of the stage to cheers and applause. Peter Hansel was greeted by Sabi to say thank you for leading him out of the dunes. a place where many still had problems on this, the penultimate day. So happy for those home. There was work still to be done for those struggling in the sand. It went right to the wire out there, the soft stuff. Well, to succeed in the dunes, the work of the co-driver is vital. Here, the co-driver of Suzuki in the Toyota is Kutani. Has to get out, show him the way through. It's the same for all the teams who said driving isn't physical enough to be a sport. Trouble is he can't stop. He daren't stop. But the truck's already much more complicated. Despite six-wheel drive, this Mercedes, a rescue vehicle for the Mitsubishi team, just too heavy to pass through much of this sand. Well, if you keep driving, it digs itself in, and we've seen them tip over from this point. Now the co-driver once again having to show the best route, but often it's not enough. It would take them a very long time to get out of that hole they just dug themselves. As night falls, nothing changes for the competitors. Gerard Bourgard hurt his finger whilst changing the damper on his truck. Ouch. Broken, I'm not sure, but it's totally squashed, he says. Well, he had to wait for the assistant's Land Rover to come and pull him out, and then he had to decide what to do next. He won't be getting to the finish until the early part of the following morning. So, stage 13. New Oxshot, destination Dakar, normally the 16th of January. Formality with 520 kilometres of liaison before attacking the final blast along the shores of the Lac Rose and the entry into Dakar. Always a very, very welcome sight for one and all. Well, amazingly, there were only 12 bikes taking the final stage of the Dakar. Mind you, seeing some of the sand, you can understand why. Peder Hansel decided to race right until the end to show that he was the boss. Jordi Akerons decided to take it a bit more easily and avoid the risk of blowing up his engine. Peder was going for another stage win, and he almost got it very, very wrong indeed out there. Great pictures for us, but you still have to be careful. Well, Peder Hansel's plan to attack the stage, it almost backfired. Down he went, and he lost time with that. Question was his bike damaged? Well, he managed to pick it up, and such was his effort that he still managed to clock the best time of the stage, but he knew he'd nearly thrown it away. Beni Ounif winning with a few bruises. Wow. That could have been very wrong. The smile says it all. Rueful, I think. Damage there for all to see, soon forgotten. The champagne was opened. Well, the first two stages, and I wanted to finish with a win at the end. So I pushed it to the limit, a pretty heavy crash, but fortunately I was okay, and the machine was a bit battered. So I rejoined, still attacking, and actually managed to win the stage. He was lucky. It was Sabi who kept his lead. Lartigue was safe in second, but fighting with Weber for the stage. L'Oreal was in third. It was Fontenay who took the final spoils of the last stage, but Sabi was top step of the podium. Well, it's not just a personal victory, said Sabi, it's a victory for everybody else. I quickly got into the lead, and it's always difficult to maintain that position because everybody thinks it's a job already done, but you can see with the Dakar, it compares to nothing else. This is my first Paris-Dakar, but people say it was an exceptional one, and I'm pleased it's over. Well, Weber eventually finished fourth, and Vatanen only eighth after his back trouble. Lartigue and Perrin, Oriol and Picard, of course, also making the podium. In the trucks, Perlini celebrated a dominant 1-2. Slesser